Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Shantia here. So in today's video, we're going to be doing a review for Married at First Sight. This is for season 14, episode 14. So if you haven't already, please check out my Heal, Feel, and Reveal series. It's a series about helping women to really find themselves, to align both their inner and outer world. I always talk about inner work on this channel in my videos, on my Married at First Sight reviews, but you have to do the outer work as well, because if you're not aligning both aspects of your life together, then things are going to get a little wonky. So we have a body for a reason. We have to do our outer work and make sure we're engaging with our world and we're involved in building our careers, building our relationships, and then also working on, of course, the internal work and that spiritual work to heal. In my video that I'm about to upload now, it's going to be about manifesting your dreams. And I know this is something that we all want to figure out and tap into, is like, how do we manifest better and easier? I feel like I found a way to really tap into how to do that, so I would highly recommend you guys to check that out. Also, make sure if you want to support the channel, I would appreciate it if you guys comment down below, like, and hit the subscribe button as well to come back to the content so that you can continue to get reviews from me and get some really good insight. And the constant feedback that I get about my reviews is that they are insightful. So if you're looking for insight into how we can work on ourselves, why we watch Married at First Sight, yes, it's for entertainment, but second of all, it's because we can relate it to our own experiences. And we're trying to figure out, okay, if that's what Lindsey's doing, maybe I need to do this in my life. All right, so let's go ahead and start with the review. Overall, let me summarize the episode. This episode was about the couples retreat. And we're always like, ooh, drama. There wasn't really any drama. In fact, drama followed only one person this entire time, and that was Lindsey. For the most part, this was mellow. It was actually very fun, very entertaining, very enjoyable episode. I would highly recommend you guys to watch the entire thing and enjoy it. Out of all the retreats I've seen in the past seasons, this to me felt like the most entertaining. So we're gonna start out with our first couple, Katina and Elijah, because there's essentially like no drama. The storyline wasn't really focused on them in this episode, so we can kind of summarize it up pretty quick. They seem to be in a pretty happy and content place. When Katina and Elijah were sitting at the table with all the couples, Elijah was saying, hey, I give this woman all the credit for helping our relationship to work. She's always putting in so much effort. He's always he's a poet. He's a wonderful and gifted talker. He's a very generous talker. I just hope that he's also understanding that he needs to put in his effort. I would like to hear him say that too. I'm putting in my effort, but it's great to hear him acknowledge her. He's very great at doing that. Later on, the two of them went on the alpaca adventure, and I thought that was super cute. As soon as I saw or I heard the owner or whoever was leading their tour with the alpacas, as soon as I heard him say that there was an alpaca that was just bored, I started cracking up because I knew that we were about to see something weird, and we did. The alpaca had just given birth. The baby was walking around, literally just covered in the fluids of being in its mother's womb, and the placenta was coming out. And one of the alpacas nearly tried to attack Elijah. So I thought that was hilarious and a really fun content to throw in there. So later, the two of them are getting together. Elijah is continuing to acknowledge Katina and how she's putting forth effort. Katina said that she loved animals. That's why they were there in the first place, to see the alpacas. So again, Katina has been amazing. I'm really, like, my heart really goes out to her because I just feel like she's such a warm, very generous, very comforting in the sense that the way that she's generous when it comes to her nurturing and her caring and her ability to listen to Elijah's needs, that's exactly the kind of qualities you want in a wife, in a partner. So I think she showcases that great. Emotionally, she's very supportive of what he needs. Him, I feel like, he talks about, having the finances and all those career aligned and ready, but that's great that he has that, but she has much more emotional maturity than him, and she can teach him a lot in that sense. So later on, the two of them were having their serious conversation about finances and about having kids. So Katina, apparently she has 2 more years of school and then she's going to graduate, and her plan is to have kids after she graduates from school. And Elijah's like, well, I'm 2 years into my business, or supposedly he's done his business or been in it for about 2 years, and he put in a lot of hard work to build it up to where it's at, and he's recommending to her, hey, maybe you want to take some more time just to focus on building your career first before we have kids. So overall, I thought that was a really great, realistic conversation for the two of them to have, and I think that's a conversation that a lot of couples have, is like, when do we have kids? Like, what's the ideal point? But I like both of their perspectives. Both of their perspectives were valid. I don't always love Elijah Wan's approach. It can seem very militant, just like Katina was saying. It seems very militant, very intense. And I've talked about on my channel before about the masculine container. So women are very fluid. We tend to be much more flexible planners. We're not about being super strict on dates, but men are, because they're naturally a lot more structured. But women, our bodies are cyclical, and so we follow a much more cyclical nature of how we base things. And so we base things off of how we feel. So that's why Katina was saying, hey, let's just wait 2 years and we'll see how we feel then. I thought that was a great point. But realistically, he was trying to paint the picture, hey, if you want to be a lot more solidified in your career, you want to travel and do all these things that you want to do, then we have to figure it out. Where I didn't appreciate what he had to say was when he was talking to her about, hey, well, I did things right and you didn't do things right. And he was saying, oh, I'm not trying to get on your case. But that's exactly what he did. So hopefully he starts to see that. He can come off as very aggressive, isn't quite the word, but just like very forward, very direct, and not understand. There's a softer edge you have to bring to that. And that softer edge, it's weird. He has like a soft side to him, but it's missing in this aspect. He can be very militant towards his wife, and that's my major concern for their relationship, is like he has to watch for that edge, because you can't have a partnership without that softness to your wife. You know, treat her as your wife, not your student, not your, I don't know, whatever other words, your child. You're not raising her, you're not training her, you're partners. So I think honestly, if the two of them can do more couple counseling together where he can work on that, then they both can adjust. I think Katina is great. I think she's great. Sure, maybe the timeline isn't ideal for how things are lining up for her in wanting to have kids, but she's right. People have kids all the time. Of course, it's not ideal to have kids when you're not super solidified in your career, but it happens and you can make it work. From my perspective, I do believe that having a provider protector in a partner, in a masculine counterpart, is really healthy. It's a really great thing for women to have, because when they do have kids, they need that supportive husband. And while he's an action-oriented person, while he's talking about Katina's selfish, I feel like he has some very selfish, immature ways too. This is your wife. You know, instead of talking to her as if your plans aren't working, how do we plan together? How do we work through things together? My wife wants kids sooner. How do I help her so that we can have kids sooner, so that we can make things flow a lot more easier and we can get all of those things that we want? How can we compromise? That's where he really needs to work on his issues. Like it's not a natural protective provider, but someone who is more mature, they've evolved their protector provider skills. They're more willing to be like, okay, how can I give my wife and be there for my wife in that way? To me, that's about the heart. You know, when a man really opens up his heart, he's more willing to do that. Like, what can I do to care for you? But if he's more protective of himself, or he's more defensive or cautious, then he's not as willing to be a protector provider in his partnership. Let's go ahead and move on to Steve and Noi. Again, it's the social media thing. Now, Steve and Noi have a really nice vibe, nice chemistry. They look the most organic together. They look so cute together. I would say the same about Katina and Elijah Wan as well, is they really have, like, they look cute together. I love it when he grabs her hand and he praises her. I love all of that. Steve and Noi have the same vibe. They're really cute together. But obviously, the first thing that came up on their way to the road trip was that conversation about social media. So I mentioned in my previous video, when your spouse brings up something time and time again and they put an emphasis on it, that's because it really bothers them. It's an unresolved issue that you guys need to figure out. And she's trying to avoid it. She's not trying to resolve it. She's basically stuck at her point. And I really feel like they need to come to some kind of compromise. While Steve was in the kitchen having a conversation with the men, he's like, is there any kind of middle ground that we can find about this situation? And he's like, I feel like there's no middle ground. I feel like she just needs to, you know, it's a no. We don't bring our relationships onto social media. I think the easiest thing obviously would be, don't do it. I am firmly against putting my business out on social media. That's probably why I'm firmly against it. Now, Noi mentioned, it's not even about you. It's not even about you. But he's like, but it is about me. The way that she talks about it, I feel like it is about him, because she is very avoidant about the whole conversation. So I think it is about him. I don't think what she's saying is necessarily true, but it's like, why are you being so stubborn about this? You know, why can't we just work through this petty, it's like a petty small issue that's going to become something bigger in our partnership. Obviously, Steve is concerned about how their partnership comes off to other people. He's more private, I guess, not necessarily private, but he wants that level of privacy. And I totally respect that. That is, to me, a bare minimum request to be expected from a significant other. Noi is definitely at this point coming off as very selfish. She seems more concerned with her own emotions. I think she definitely cares for Steve, but I think she's definitely coming off as selfish and immature, like almost childlike in a way. Like, no, I don't want to do that. You know, she has those moments where it's just like, really, Noi? Like, can't we just be mature about this decision and move past this? Why are we holding on to small issues? They're talking about the social media thing, but the thing that's come up in these videos and also in the after party is that she's not the best communicator. And I found that really interesting because Noi mentioned in one of the after party reviews that they had been having like 3-hour-long conversations. So I'm like, okay, you guys are having 3-hour-long conversations, but what are you guys talking about? Why are things coming up later? So it's like the aggression. She has a hard time communicating her frustration. She's all about, okay, let's just stay in the positive emotions. Let's not go into that territory. But then now you have all this pent up resentment towards your spouse that's coming out on social media because you can't communicate to him directly. So see, you know, he's a very logical, very smart person. I think he can help her through this if he has patience, but it's just, is she willing to give? So later on, the two of them were playing the most likely game. And they were talking about who's most likely to be a stay-at-home parent. And Noi wrote her name. I just thought it was funny. So Noi wrote her name and then Lindsey cracked that joke. You know, it was kind of like, I mean, it was low-key mean, but it was also kind of honest, right? She says, okay, you got a jobless man and a stay-at-home mom. Now, I don't necessarily think that Steve is jobless, but the fact that people have been kind of saying that consistently has been kind of the consistent pattern, and we're not really hearing that Steve has a clear income or is clearly doing something. They are out of sync when it comes to their desires for their lifestyle. And this is why I would recommend, it is important when you're searching for a partner, you have to communicate directly what your lifestyle is going to be before you really start to build those emotions and become devoted to someone. If you jump in with emotions head first and you want this lifestyle for yourself, for your kids, for your family, that feels now unattainable, and you're fighting at every turn about everything that you want and desire, now we have a whole lot of issues coming up. So lifestyle has to be clear from the get-go. Like, what do you want? Do you want a big house? Do you want comfortable living? Do you want to be a minimalist? Are you willing to save and give up some luxuries? Like what? So they just need to be very direct about that conversation. A lot of people talk about, oh, it's the love, it's the emotions, we can get through it. The love is important, but you need to be aligned with your values and what your vision is for your life. Noi brought up trust. So apparently trust is something they're still trying to figure out, they're trying to build. I love the way Steve spoke about it. He talked about there's levels of trust. You know, I trust you not to just take off with all my stuff, but now do I trust you emotionally? Do I trust you with all of my emotions? And do I trust you with all of my secrets? Like that, I wasn't necessarily trying to convey it that way, but last week when I was talking about trust, I was saying you don't give people all of your trust right away. I don't think that's absolutely possible. In fact, I think people who tend to do that hit the low really quickly. Someone should work to earn that from you, work to earn your trust and develop that over time, and that will decide whether they're a worthy partner or not. Like that is, to me, it's honorable for you and for them to trust someone through growth, through levels, through experience of getting to know each other. Noi came back with the comment of, oh, I don't agree with that. Trusting at different, that's interesting. Usually when a woman says, that's interesting, or someone says, that's interesting, it usually means that they don't agree. So I kind of feel like she doesn't really agree or fully see where he's coming from. In a lot of ways, Steve is older than her, but I'm kind of surprised at how much emotionally mature the difference is between the two of them. Later on, when Steve and Noi were leaving in the car, she was crying, and she was talking about and bringing up all of her fears about letting go of her apartment because she's not sure if this relationship is going to work. my thing is, as far as the apartment goes and the single life goes, and okay, I built all this, you signed up for this show, you decided to get married. The different stages in life, the transformations that we go through are all about choosing to take and be willing to take that risk. Take that, not necessarily like a full-on like leap of faith, but like a calculative risk about our decisions. I think in this case, she just really needs to think and reflect, hey, am I ready for this? It seems like there's a consistent pattern that a lot of the people who do sign up for this show, they don't think things fully through. I think if you thought things fully through, you probably wouldn't sign up for the show at all. So it seems like some of these people, they skip over certain understandings of like, maybe I should think about this or think about that. Realistically consider if I'm ready for this. So I'm gonna be easier on people when they say they're not ready, that it's because most of them don't fully think things through and they made that impulsive decision to sign up for the show. So she's not ready. I think this happens from time to time, those fears come up. My hope is that she figures out a way to push through, but at the same time, her and Steve have other things that are coming up as well. I think the fear of and the fact that they haven't been able to get over issues has made her want to cling on to her past, cling on to what she's comfortable with. But that's a part of, I think, not just marriage, but relationships and just everything in life. Growth is, and it can be very uncomfortable and it can be very scary. So is she willing to grow? If you don't want to grow, you're going to stay stunted in life. Challenge yourself, see what you can do, surprise yourself. The last thing I want to say is, I forgot to mention this early, is that Steve brought up the social media thing and he kept bringing it up in the car, when they were amongst the couples, when they were in bed together, and later on. He mentioned it because he, I think at this point, is fed up with the fact that she has issues communicating and he wants to figure out a way through it. Because he's thinking this isn't going to work if we can't figure out how to do this. So yes, it's about the social media, but really it's about finding a way to get over this hump of miscommunication and misunderstandings. So that's my review for Noi and Steve. Let's go ahead and move on to Jasmina and Michael. So for Jasmina and Michael, I think the two of them, I talked about connection, and for sure there's some issues with connecting. Throughout this episode, they were totally cute. Like, I love the t-shirts, I love the competitiveness, the games, I loved all of that. They made the experience, the episode, really entertaining, really fun. They have a nice back and forth comedic vibe between the two of them. However, Jasmina has mentioned many times that she has no feelings. No feelings. Now, I'm starting to really question what this no feeling means, because how do you not have no feelings? Even I have feelings for, like, not like a romantic, but like even I have feelings like of warmth and joy with my coworkers. So I'm just trying to understand, what does she mean by no feelings? Either she set the bar really high, or she's just not attracted, she's not interested. And I think that might be, but either of those things could be part of the issue between the two of them. I think Michael's definitely more willing to give. Time and time again, when they have their separate conversations, Michael's always saying, oh yeah, we're doing good, we're making progress, things are going good. And then Jasmina's always like, I don't know. So I just always question, like, are they ready? So in the beginning, when the men were all meeting up together, Steve and Michael were having that conversation about the dip. And Steve was like, or Michael was like, we can't have any dips. If we have a dip, it's not going to work for us. We need to keep making progress because we waited so late in the game just to start and take off. And Steve mentioned, oh, so your dip is like a cliff to you. I don't... Like, I hear that Michael is trying to describe the metaphor, the symbology of where their relationship is at. I just don't think that either of them, they are the team of overthinkers. Even in the car on their way to the retreat, they're talking about rating the chemistry of their relationship. And I'm just like, please stop putting numbers. Please stop mathematically calculating your relationship. This isn't a relationship. You know, I don't really understand why they keep going back to that. I really wish one of the experts would just push, why don't you guys just develop some chemistry with each other? Why don't you guys just be with each other? I think, honestly, I think Michael's more willing to try. I think Jasmina is the wall. She's the wall. because again, men follow a woman's, or the feminine, the masculine follows the woman's signal. And she internally, even though her words are saying yes, even though in front of the other couple she's touching him and she's laughing with him and they have a camaraderie together, I think she honestly just isn't, she doesn't have it. She's not interested. It's just not there for her. So they have a friendship, and in the after party, that's what she called it. She said, we have a friendship. But I don't think she wants to develop feelings for him. So, like, that's my thing, my advice to people is to understand, it's not that you don't have feelings necessarily. How do you not have feelings for someone you've been physically around 6 weeks? It's not hard to develop feelings for someone, even if it's just like a kindness or a warmth or consideration. But to have no feelings, to me, you're putting up a wall. Later on, Jasmina and Michael met up with a medium. And now that's when things really started to get interesting, because the medium, the first thing she brought up was that Michael had fallen in love with Jasmina the moment he saw her. And I thought that was hilarious. I'm like, I don't think he fell in love with her. I think he fell in, I don't know, it could have been like a spark of lust or something. But I don't think he fell in love. He's so calculative and in his head all the time. I think he has a hard time feeling those feelings too. I think okay, it's the way that I would describe, let me go back to this. The way that I would describe Michael and Jasmina, it's like they're both repelling magnets. Man, I don't remember science though. Science and math is not my subject, but it's like they're like the same energy. Because they're the same energy, they're repelling each other. Because they're both like mentally calculating their relationship, they can't attract each other. It's hard to develop any like real sustainable attraction. So I know Michael, you know, obviously she's attractive and he's probably, you know, caring about her in that sense, but he definitely can feel that. I think he can definitely sense and feel that she's just not there, and therefore he can't really build his fire or his emotions. And that's why he's talking about, oh, it's not going to work if we hit that dip, da 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 da. And men get very logical, they get very calculative when they can't feel their emotions. When they're not feeling that spark, they're not being inspired. You know, this is why I say, I'm like, you can be the most beautiful, attractive person, but you'll lose, you can also not be magnetic. You can be the most attractive woman and have no magnetism around men, and men are just like dodging you left and right, because you have to be aligned with yourself. I think she put up all of her walls for a lot of different reasons. I'm sure she's, you know, gone through things. I know she's had infidelity with other significant others in her life, and that's why she struggled with that. But I think there are other levels to why she struggles to open up. Not other levels, but there are some issues she's still having to heal and work through. This is why inner work is important. Inner work does make you very magnetic. It does make you very attractive. Nothing is more attractive than a healed, just like abundant, yes, positive, but just all around grounded person. Like that makes you very magnetic person. If you're able to like get your life in that good energy, that makes you very alluring, very magnetic. Okay, so let's go back to the medium. I totally went off on a tangent. Oh my gosh, guys, why didn't you tell me? So the medium said that, and I love Jasmina's reaction. And then she started getting into Michael's past and about his brother and his father that were on point. And then she started talking about their future, them buying a boat, Jasmina possibly meeting someone in 1.5 years, him meeting someone in 5 years, and them regretting never being with each other. I thought that was cool, but I honestly just feel like there are just some key things that are missing between the two of them. Of course, hearing that gave me hope. Then I'm like, oh my gosh, maybe they do have the possibility to figure something out with one another. And later on, when he was talking about how she cared for him through that experience, she started crying and everything. She has moments, glimpses of moments where she softens and she lets her emotions through. But she has a habit of keeping up that hard shell. If she's willing to do a lot of the inner work, also take the leap of faith, because I don't think she's gonna have that feelings for him towards the end, because she keeps saying, no, no feelings, no, no feelings. It's because you haven't opened your heart, girl. If she continues to be in that stance, in that place, I think she should just say yes for the sake of wanting to do her inner work to get through understanding how to be with him. they might just be one of those couples where it takes them a while to build or kindle that fire. Otherwise, if they end things, I won't be sad. You know, I think the two of them could just, it's too soon. Honestly, it's too soon for them, and they need to go and figure out what they really want in life. Overall, I think they're very cute together, but we shall see. Moving on to the last couple, Mark and Lindsey, and obviously I saved them last for the obvious reason. Drama. On their way to the retreat, Lindsey was talking about, oh, I think that's where my last boyfriend lived, and that's where my last boyfriend lived. And he's like, wow, you have a boyfriend at every highway exit. It seems like you have commitment issues. I think that's what Lindsey is referring to when she says that Mark takes digs at her. I don't think he takes... Here's my thing. He is irritated. He is irritated because she grates and agitates and pulls at his energy. So of course, people are just human. They're going to react as such. And so if a person is pushed far enough and they're irritated enough and you drain them enough, of course they're going to feed into that energy, and they're going to become self-fulfilling prophecy of what you fear them being if you continue to say that they are. Like, she says that he's this and that, he's going to start to kind of become it. Now, Mark is a class act. He truly is a class act for having to maintain that. During the after party, honestly, guys, during the after party, that man looks so happy. I'm like, is he single? Because he looks like a weight has been lifted off his chest. And he was calling out Lindsey left and right. So he knows exactly what's going on. This is a difference between healing and not healing. Now, you can continue to attract unhealthy partners, but when you do your healing, you know you're doing it. You know you deserve better, and you know you get to have better in life. You just sense that, and you call it out, and you're very direct about it. So I feel like Mark is willing to do that healing. Later on, Lindsey was having a conversation with the girls, and she was talking about how his life is just constantly falling apart. Honestly, it makes me sick to my stomach to hear the way that she talks about him. It's so not okay. It's extremely, it speaks of depression. It reeks of depression. Those statements that are coming out of her mouth, it reeks of depressing energy. Now, earlier in my notes, I wrote, oh my gosh, she's crazy. But I had to be really honest, dig into that compassion, and I started to really think, there's something off. Hot and cold all the time. I've never seen anyone as hot and cold as she is. Some people can be manipulating. She is so far gone into her drama, into her telenovela, into her soap opera, that I think that there are some serious issues at hand there. When she was talking to Dr. Pepper last week about being so sad, there are some deep, I've been calling it out, but there might be something a lot deeper there. Sometimes we laugh at people's drama, but I'm like, there is something off there. It is very unhealed, which is why I wasn't surprised when she ended up going to the urgency room. I've met people who they live soap operas. They're so dramatic, and they know how to manifest illness into their lives. So it's like wherever illness goes, it's always telling you that you've exhausted some kind of energies. And I'm going to get further into that. I'm jumping far ahead. So later, Lindsey and Mark, for the most part, they were doing good. Mark said that they had 2 really good days. And then they come to the retreat. The next morning, they wake up. She's kind of poking and prodding at him. He's not into it. She's all laughing and giddy and happy. He says one word. He says, "You're hyper." And she's just like, that's rude. And then everything just falls apart. That's where I'm like, there's something off. Like, tick, tick, boom, off of that. That's the phrase she waited for to hurt her. Something's really off there. She reacted to that. Everything fell apart. They had to mend things. I just give so much kudos to him for patience, because what I didn't call out and what I had meant and intended to call out last week was that Pastor Cal talking about, oh, if you just give Lindsey this and you just give Lindsey that, she'll work with you. No, there's no working with Lindsey. She will self-sabotage anything because she hasn't healed. That's the part where I'm like, they do very good individual coaching, but let's be honest here. You brought a woman who is broken-hearted into this experiment. You brought this man a woman who's broken-hearted. She has not done her healing. She's very sad in her life. She has a lot of things to work through. She's projecting everything. There are some serious issues at play here. And it's not funny when it's on reality TV anymore. It's not entertaining. There's something off. Later on, they had a sound bath. They relaxed and they mended things. They got back together. And then later, they had the game, Who's Most Likely, and Lindsey got upset again. And again, all heck broke loose. She talked about how they tried to get back together to talk, and they ended up getting into a really upsetting fight. Mark had that conversation with Michael, and Michael was all like, hey, why don't you just ask her, hey, what's wrong? I'm like, I know I really love that everyone's helping them to try to mend things, but this isn't going to, like, this isn't functional. It's not functional. And Jasmina clarified exactly why it's not functional. She talked about how Lindsey had called her and talked to her about things, and Keisha was saying, hey, do you guys ever call her about how she is towards Mark? Jasmina clarified, yes, we do. And Lindsey says, well, that's just the way I am. Ooh, I heard enough. I've heard that before. That's just the way I am. That's someone who doesn't want to heal. You can't do anything from that. The best thing you can do for you, and I've said it multiple times, is to walk away, give that person space to do their healing. You go do you, because it's not for you to carry. If someone starts making you carry their burden of having to heal them, one, that's because you're attracting that to you. Mark is a caretaker. He's used to attracting people who probably take from him and take of him. But two, so this is like the universe telling you need to learn how to say no and set up those boundaries and protect yourself so that you can be like, go off and do your own thing and be healthy on your own. You can't do anything to fix people, especially if they don't want to compromise or have those conversations. Later on, Lindsey ended up getting sick. She went to the urgency care. Mark was supportive. He was there for her. She's always talking about how she has to be there for Mark, but time and time again, he's the one showing up for her when she's at her wit's end. She's the one who's like pulling at his energy, and he's trying to give it. She's saying he's not filling up his cup, but she continues to push it over. It's really kind of a sad situation between the two of them, but it's something that, I don't believe in coincidences. I think that things come our way so that we can learn our lessons, learning our worth, learning what we deserve, learning what's healthy, what's not healthy. Until you say and you embody it, you're going to continue to experience the same issues over and over. That is all I have to say about the couples for this episode of Married at First Sight. It was a really entertaining episode. I loved that they were playing games and being competitive. I loved that. I was laughing the entire episode. That is the end of my review for Married at First Sight. Go ahead and like, subscribe, comment down below, support the channel, and go ahead and also watch some of my other videos for my Heal, Feel, and Reveal series. If you're interested in some of the products in my shop, I sell artwork, photography, prints. Go ahead and check it out. They're high quality stuff. I always put in all of my heart into my work. I put all of my heart into these reviews, into every video that I make. Click and enjoy and take something if you can. I hope you guys have a wonderful day or evening. Make sure you're here for my next review at Married at First Sight. Bye.